What's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon to those out there. It is the Earthmaster here with an update video on this Thursday, March 3rd, 2022, about 11:27 a.m. California time, and the latest quake shows a 5.5 earthquake in the South America region, just coming in there pretty deep into the subduction zone there along the Peru-Chile Trench, 190 kilometers below the surface for that quake. Quite a bit of uptick in movement overnight, pretty much globally. Let's go ahead and check out the latest earthquake map here from the USGS, showing quite a swarm of activity around the Middle America Trench and the Caribbean Plate. Seeing quite a bit of activity ramping up here. We've seen some movement last night really ramp up here around the British Virgin Islands area, including a 4-pointer right here. A 4.0 came in. Somewhat shallow, pretty close to the Puerto Rico Trench, and of course some other swarming that was taking place here this morning within that same vicinity. So kind of watching this whole regional area, as I believe this area is under quite a bit of strain. Haven't seen any major large quake in this area in quite a long time. Did see some activity way up here into the kind of towards the Gulf of Mexico here, around the eastern part of Mexico. Just haven't seen too much movement here in this region either. And that all has to do with the activity kind of working its way around the Caribbean Plate down here to the south and the North American Plate up here to the north. 5.7 came in earlier this morning. A pretty deep movement here, 111 kilometers below the surface. Did create a little bit of shaking out there in the region. 5.7, let's go ahead and check out historical data. Here on the map you can see around the epicenter, the star, shows quite a bit, quite a bit of deeper movement here to the south, but specifically right where this earthquake struck should be shallow quakes, at least for the most part here on the map. I want to show you guys the regional view. Looks like there has been some very shallow fours, shallow by the color here, right? We got the white circles indicating depths up to about 70 kilometers, which ain't really deep here in this region. And then we get the deeper ones between 70 and 300 kilometers there in the lighter gray. And of course, the black ones, or the darker color ones, further down below 300. But within this area, we haven't really seen a whole lot of movement within about, since about 1900 or so. So just a little surprised to see that deeper earthquake activity within this region. But then again, we've been seeing deep movement all over the North American Plate, and specifically up along the west part of the plate boundary up here along California. We've been seeing quite a bit of deep movement. And, generally speaking, deep movement all over the Caribbean Plate as well. Puerto Rico, I did have a earthquake here north of the Panama City area. That one a 5.0. And some further activity over here into the Middle America Trench, somewhat deep at 51 kilometers, 4.9 for that area. So a lot of deep activity taking place prior to this 5.7 that was kicking up in the Mexico area this morning. Since then, we really haven't seen too much in terms of further movement. As you can see here on the list, the 5.7 there in the Mexico area was about pretty much the last deep earthquake here so far this morning. We did have a further 2.7 over here in Puerto Rico. Once again, pretty deep, right along the Puerto Rico Trench area. This one here, like I say, it's definitely capable of producing a pretty good sized quake. Just haven't seen one in quite a while. Let's see what else. Port of Spain, 4.2, 120 kilometers there at the southern end of the Caribbean Plate. And that one's deep as well, 120 kilometers. So a lot of adjustment going on below the surface. South America, of course, where that earthquake just coming into the earthquake 3D globe, seeing some activity up and down the Peru-Chile Trench, and also around the Chile Rise. Seeing a pretty shallow earthquake. Of course, this is typical, defaulted 10 kilometers in this area for that 5.0. And some definitely deep activity up here around the Santiago and into the Argentina area. A couple fours there, ranging down to about 134 kilometers into the trench regions. West Coast, this here is a 2.5 and above. We'll go ahead and bump this up so you can see the activity that's really been kicking up today, up and down the state. Look at this movement up here around the geyser area. They had a what they had, something kind of on the bigger side there, 3.8, just outside of Cobb Mountain. Of course, this is a pretty shallow earthquake. Look at that, the depth there, 0.4, very shallow for this region. So there is, of course, the hydrothermal operations down here, Calpine, which own and operate this whole region down here to produce energy from well, raw sewage. Not going to go into the specifics of how it works. You can look it up yourself on any search browser. But there's a whole bunch of earthquakes being created out here, and I say created because they are today in the Cobb Mountain region. 68 earthquakes so far over the last 24 hours, including that 3.8. And sometimes they do get up there. Those magnitudes do get up there in the magnitude department, and they can create damage out there. I guess there was some type of lawsuit here with Calpine a few years ago due to the damage that was being created. And yeah, 3.8. I don't know about any houses out here around this region. It's just basically I believe just mountain ranges. I believe these are all the operations here. They all got what looks like I was just up here a couple weeks ago checking out the area, and all these are the hydrothermal plants where they induce the sewage water, or raw sewage, down into the below the surface where it's hot, right? And create this energy somehow to create steam. And it's an interesting little operation, but at the same time, you know, it kind of messing with nature out there, and I'm not a big fan of that. Not a big fan of that. But anyway, there's a bunch out there, all these hydrothermal plants, and that's pretty much 100% of what's causing all the earthquake activity out there in the region of the Cobb Mountain area. So this whole area, of course, Mount Konocti sits up here. Volcanic activity all throughout this region, and of course they're tapping into that, into the potential there to create that energy. Look it up if you got a chance after this video to see that whole operation, how Calpine works, at the risk of creating earthquakes. Let's see what else we got here. Southern California lighten up as well. Nothing within the last hour. Just a movement around the San Jacinto fault zone and just off the Elsinore fault. One little earthquake up here north in this little watch area we've been watching here around the Mission Ridge area. 1.2 at 14.8 kilometers. This area has seen a swarm of movement over the last 7 days or so. Pretty much the San Cayetano fault westward seen a pretty good amount of earthquake activity, which came to a halt yesterday. Looks like that may be popping back up. We'll see when it comes to the activity today. Let's see what else we got. Salton Sea way down there. One little earthquake right smack dab on the Brawley seismic zone, the extensional level here. Extensional fault system of the San Andreas fault, 1.5. Let's see what else we got. Ridgecrest, kind of quiet down there in that region. Hong Valley supervolcano. It's just been pretty active throughout the last 7 days. Actually, it seems like this area has been active for a couple months now. Of course, we always tend to get earthquake movement out here. Centered around just the western skirts of the caldera there in Long Valley. And looking at about 120 earthquakes or so in the all magnitudes. Of course, most of those below the 2.5 threshold. Only 4 earthquakes in the looks like upwards of 2.9 around the Long Valley area. Of course, again, all volcanic. A lot of volcanic history out there in that region, and plate tectonics in general. Of course, with this major plate boundary between the North American and Pacific plates, that's expected. Antelope Valley area, quite a few ones kicking up today. Nevada, a little scattered activity throughout the desert out there. Nothing really going on in Northern California inland. We did have a little activity way off the coast of Crescent City, out in the Gorda Ridges, just kind of on the edge of them, 2.7 at 10.7 kilometers. There has been a little bit of tremor kicking up here into this region. Well, let's get over to the tremor map here real quick, and I'll show you guys. This here is from last night, or yesterday, a little bit of movement into the middle part of the Cascadia subduction zone, kind of right there in the middle part, just about 37 epicenters. Prior to that, the other day, seen some movement down here into the southern Oregon area, about 81 epicenters of tremor, but nothing significant, nothing really to even take note of. It's just kind of in that dry spell currently. Let's see, what do we got here in Idaho? A couple twos kicking off here. Yellowstone, we'll go ahead and check them out. Still reporting some earthquake activity throughout the park there in Wyoming. Let's go ahead and check out the latest map here from the Yellowstone overview. I'm going to refresh this just to make sure we got the latest data. There is the 5.7 showing up. The 5.7 that struck there in Mexico earlier this morning showing up on the seismograph station. So that is not a localized earthquake by any means. That's definitely a distant earthquake, but it did pick it up pretty nicely there on quite a few of the seismograph stations. Some of them zip zero. They're tuned so high they probably won't pick up anything if it were to occur in this area. But earthquake activity as far as localized movement goes, I'm going to go over here to the epicenter area where we were watching this swarm of activity. And yeah, it's still continuing. There's the general localized earthquake activity ramping up here in the spikes, including some of these other localized spikes there. So I definitely say the swarm is still continuing as of right now. Nothing far as any awesomeness goes, as far as like a major swarm, but definitely still continuing today with that ongoing activity. And most of those are definitely well under 2.0. Looking at least this map here shows quite a few ones and some earthquakes underneath the 1.0 threshold around the Yellowstone area. So I'll continue to watch and monitor that activity throughout the day. Utah region still seen a pretty good amount of swarm throughout the mountains and up around the Cedar, Utah area over the last 24 hours in that region. Oklahoma, a little bit of activity as well. Nothing really, no swarming going on in that area of the state. Over here around the Tennessee region, got a 1.9 and a 1.5 up here right up against the Great Smoky Mountains. 14.8 kilometers and 15.1 for one of them. The New Madrid zone looks pretty quiet right now. See what else we got. There's that 5.1. Looks like the can't remember what it said on the EMSC globe. 4.8. It looks like the USGS may have done a little upgrade with that latest quake that was on the globe. But either way, another deep earthquake coming in there to the region of the Peru-Chile Trench with a 5.1 at 165 kilometers there, just popping up on the map. Alaska over the last hour or so showing some movement outside of Anchorage and up around the Denali area, showing a little swarm of activity. This is all pretty much typical activity in this region here, just a lot of deep subduction zone quakes. And along the Aleutian Trench, the same thing, some activity stretching up along the islands there. Kuril-Kamchatka Trench and the Japan Trench all quiet for the most part. One little 4.7 that was happening late last night, and a little activity south of Tokyo around the Philippine Plate, 4.7, and also over here on the west side towards the East China Sea, 4.6. Pretty quiet though, still remains relatively quiet in this area. Swarm of movement throughout the Papua New Guinea area. I think this is from yesterday. Most of it was from last night, I should say. A little bit of activity this morning. 5.4. That was down here along the Kermadec Trench. So most of this activity we're seeing here on the board is from last night. So that should be dropping off here later on this evening. As far as the Tonga Trench, Kermadec Trench goes, we got, what do we got here? About 3 earthquakes. And even then, what's that? 13:29 UTC time. That was quite a few hours ago, 6 hours ago or so. So even this area, this whole Pacific plate area has been relatively quiet in the past 6 hours. No further movement. The GeoNet site here does show. Let me pop over here to the GeoNet folks and check out the New Zealand site. Looks like 4.1 4 hours ago. And yeah. not on the map. Let's see, let's get back here. But definitely some activity being picked up here within the last few hours at the, looks like right around the Hastings area where we've seen that swarm of activity kick up. I know we can look at all these magnitudes, but I'm not going to go through all of these. But there's definitely that 4-pointer that kicked up here around the Hawke Bay area of the North Island, New Zealand. A little bit of some microquake activity there as well. Earthquakes Canada. Let's go ahead and go over to these folks and see what's going on here. Well, looks like a whole lot of activity, but most of this is older. The red circles indicating activity within the last day. Of course, the purple, you see here purple on my side, is the latest quake, 2.2. In this area of Canada. Otherwise, we're not seeing a whole lot of movement kick up here. Same for the northern end of the Cascadia. Most of that is older movement there off the coast of Vancouver Islands. See what else we got here. What have we got? China. This is some movement from last night. So all this area, pretty old movement up here. That's about ready to drop off the globe. The activity out here in the mid-Indian Ridge 5.1 is from earlier this morning as well. So not a whole lot of renewed activity kicking up here within this area of the world right now. Just kind of focused over here, North American, Caribbean Plate, South America region, all kind of just under the gun right now, kind of crunching the Caribbean Plate with all this deeper movement. That's kind of when we need to be on guard up here around the Puerto Rico Trench, when we see this broad scale activity kind of surrounding the Caribbean Plate area subduction zones up here. Of course, you got the Middle America Trench and other areas, kind of just crunching that plate. There's a little. I want to show you guys this little general plate map. Kind of shows you the movement of the plates in general. Of course, you got the Caribbean Plate right here. You got the South America Plate moving northward, right? And of course, this subduction zone here from the Nazca Plate heading to the east. There's a whole lot of dynamics here. It's a really kind of a confusing area when it comes to looking at any specific areas. But at the Caribbean Plate here, they're definitely getting they're crunched here from this region, while the North American Plate kind of makes its it kind of goes, looks like north and towards the west. Kind of does like this counterclockwise rotation here from these arrows. But gotta watch this Caribbean Plate area. Middle America Trench too is a major player in some larger quakes there, and quite a bit of buildup of stress there from the Caribbean Plate and the on this map, the Cocos Plate. Let's see what else we got. I think that's about it, folks. I'm going to jump off here and enjoy the day. Got a little bit of rain coming into California. It's actually been sprinkling off and on here for a few hours. Definitely not a gully washer. Just kind of a day to get the car all dirty and dusty and put raindrop spots all over the place. But then again, it is kind of nice and refreshing to smell the rain in the air again. And I'm sure the plants and whatnot are kind of loving it as well. I just hope we get a little bit more than what we are expecting. Looking on the radar map, yeah, it definitely shows a pretty good band of rain coming up through the Sacramento Valley right now towards Chico. And I'm going to go outside right now and just kind of sit outside and enjoy the rain. So have a good day. Enjoy your day. We will be back a little bit later on this evening. And take care. Please stay safe out there, folks. Have a good day.